Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Peaks Recovery Center's talk show. I am super excited to be here today. We got some phenomenal guests with us. To my right, we got my good buddy Cody Fleck, client care aide, someone in long-term recovery as well. And to my left, we have our trusty steed, Chief Clinical Officer Jason Friesma, who is the first longest tenured employee with us right now. And then Bo, right?
Right. What's the right now thing, Chris? Like,
Today.
do you have news for me? I'd like to,
And so we wanted to do this in the most passionate way possible.
as public as possible. Yeah.
No, we love Friesma at Peaks. We love Cody. I'm really excited to get on here today. It's my first time hosting. I get to bring Cody on, and he's just got a really authentic, powerful, and unique recovery story that I want him to share briefly. And we'll just kind of start there and get into it and start conversating about it. But I think Cody's got some really good insight, some good experience, and now being on the professional side, some good ways to lean in with compassion, love, and care, which is what we love to do at Peaks. So, Cody, why don't you tell us a little bit about your experience kind of getting sober, what that was like, maybe your time in the military as well. He did 3 years in the military, and then as a professional a little bit, if you can track on all three of those.
Yeah, no problem. Growing up, it was kind of tough for me. Both my parents used, so that became kind of like a normalcy for me. I used to deal with life, anything that happened in my life, that's what I turned to. I joined the military when I was 18. I did 3 years as a cavalry scout in the U.S. military, in the Army, and I thought that would kind of take care of my addiction and the problems I was having, but that was not the case at all. I did, in fact, still find ways and means to use. I want to backtrack a little bit. I had gone to my first rehab when I was 12 years old. It was an adolescent program in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. And I really didn't grasp anything that was going on. Most of the kids were a little older than me, and it was a weird experience for me at that age to go through that. But fast forward to while I was in the Army, I still drank. I still used. I wasn't using IV, but I was still using pills and stuff of that nature. And yeah, my time in the military was great. I soon moved back to Louisiana after getting stationed in Fort Polk, and that's kind of where my addiction kind of kicked back off again, a little more intense at that time. I started going home on the weekends, hanging out with old friends again, and yeah, I started using just to cover up the pain of losing my father at a young age, losing my mother shortly after that to her addiction and incarceration. So yeah, I bounced around a lot. I caught some charges and ended up having to get into the drug court program. I found, at that point in my life, I found out what AA was really, and I knew that it worked, but I didn't fully commit to changing in the program. About a year after that, I started using again while on drug court, and I basically kind of gave up at that point. I opted to go to prison pretty much, and spent a couple years involved in the judicial system in Concordia, Louisiana, and got out. And I knew that I needed to make some major changes. I wanted to get out of Louisiana, and I thought that moving would be my best bet. And I thought, again, just like I did when I joined the Army, that moving to Florida would solve all my issues. And I found out that wasn't the case at all. I moved to Florida, and that kind of started my journey in the treatment scene, going from rehab to rehab. And all in all, I truly wanted to stop using. I did not want that life. I always knew that I could be better, but I just didn't know how. I didn't know what I was missing at that point.
And it's tough too,
Yeah.
because you grow up with it all around you. And I think, because I relate to that, having both mother and father addicted, and all around you is this idea that if I can just get a little bit better than this, I'll do okay.
Yeah.
And so there's really no way out of that. And it's not this idea that I can, like yourself, I tried to go check into the military at 18 and squash my addiction, only for it to pop back out the side, right? And same with you. So it's not a thing that you can suppress. And I just love the way you describe addiction, because you said, I do it to treat the pain. And I've just said this ad nauseum lately, just because of Dr. Gabor Mate and all this stuff. It's not why the addiction, it's why the pain. You just really described that really eloquently, man. And
Thank you.
I love the way that you moved through that. But go ahead and continue with the treatment.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been through a number of different treatments, and they were great. I did learn some things, some not so great, but yeah. So I did learn something from each treatment center, and yeah, bouncing from treatment to treatment, trying to solve my problem, which was the use and why I used. Ultimately, my time in Florida was coming to an end. I met a guy and came out to Colorado Springs. Again, trying to run from my issues. And yeah, I found myself arrested again here after a bout with a few nights of drug use. And yeah, that's kind of where how my journey ended as far as my use. In February 26th of 2019 was the last day I used, and I still can remember.
That's legit, man.
Yeah, I still can remember the feeling of what just happened and where I was at that point. And I remember getting offered drugs not 2 hours after arrested in El Paso County, and that was the first time I denied anything. So yeah, it was a really powerful moment for me, and I knew that it wasn't just like I'm never going to do this because I'm here. It was like I just don't want this anymore.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It's at that light, it just clicks, and you're like, I'm done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's beautiful. Talk to me a little bit about what the last 2.5 years in recovery has both been personally and professionally.
Yep. So a year ago, I found Peaks. It's a day away from a year ago. I started working for Peaks, and prior to getting the job at Peaks, I got out and hit the ground running. I knew that I needed to make some major changes and go to any lengths to keep on this path. I got committed to CA here. Met some really good guys who I'm still friends with to this day. Stayed connected with them, and I just started going through the steps, going through the process, working my butt off to really change my life and make sure that I never had to go back to that. Started working for Peaks a year ago, and that's where it opened my eyes to a lot more than just CA and AA and the program. I found out that there's many ways to stay on this path. I found out that they actually had staff at treatment centers that truly cared about the client and put their best interest ahead of their own sometimes, And it's just been a blessing to be able to work for this company, work for the people I work with, my coworkers. It's like a family. It truly is a family, and yeah, I mean, just open my eyes to a different side of the treatment scene. Because like I said, you know, I've been involved with treatment for a long time, and you know, some of those times weren't the best experiences, but yeah. I mean, Peaks is really, it's really different in a lot of ways. And, you know, from the staff that is there with the clients day in and day out, from the medical side, from the clinical side, from now IOP, and which is great, because I really feel like staying involved with the people in the company that helped you get clean is really important. So.
Yeah, that's great, man. And you've certainly found a lane at Peaks that you're really, really good at. And Cody is kind of, I describe him and another guy, Sylvan, up there in our detox, as kind of like the front ground triage infantry soldiers. I mean, the people walk in the worst conditions of their life more often than not. And this guy walks right up and is happy to wrap his arm around him and say, let's go. It doesn't matter. He can hold space for those individuals just as good or better than anybody I've ever met. And like I told you today on that feed, like, you're made for this. And it shows in the work that you get to do on a daily basis. And so we're just as lucky to have you to be a part of that, for sure. And just like Cody, and Jason pointed this out a couple weeks ago when we were doing a show, he said, you didn't believe in treatment. The reason I didn't believe in treatment was because of all the bad actors. And that's what Cody saw down in Florida, is if you go to so many programs and you're around so many programs and you learn that this is actually not efficacious, it's not putting clients first, and then you find yourself in AA saying things like, this is the only way to get sober.
Yeah.
And it really is. I'm grateful that Peaks can be that breath of fresh air, because there's certainly been a couple breaths of fresh air for me over the last couple of years that have allowed Peaks to adopt some really compassionate and trauma-informed pieces of care. So grateful you're leaning into that. Now, I want to shift over to Jay Money.
Woo.
Yeah, that was solid, man.
Still
I
here.
appreciate that, dude. You got a powerful story.
Thank you.
Powerful story.
Let me ask Cody one question.
Go
then
for
you
it.
can switch over.
Yep.
I appreciate the before story, I really do, and I love the recovery part of your journey, Cody. And then I just wanted to ask you, what brings you joy now? Like, what gets you up in the morning and brings a smile to your face? And it doesn't have to be Peaks, by the way.
Great
Just
question.
Chris is sitting next to you.
Well, Peaks is a big part of that, but also just finding myself again. I used for so long that I didn't know who I was. Honestly, I didn't know what I liked. I didn't know what I didn't like. I didn't know that was a big fear of mine. Getting clean is like, what am I supposed to do now? You know, I spent my days using. Like a part of this is from the program, but just helping others. Helping others is huge for me, because I was that guy that you know, was homeless and didn't have, and you know, whenever someone, you know, lent a hand or tried to give me direction, I thought that was really, really genuine. So yeah, just helping, giving back, you know, working out, staying fit.
What we do this morning?
Yeah, CrossFit.
Tell them what we did this morning. We had what, 15 guys in early recovery doing a 20-minute AMRAP with 5 pull-ups, 10 push-ups, 15 air squats, as many times as possible in 20 minutes.
It was great to see.
Yeah, beautiful thing.
And
man.
they love that. That's something they look forward to, and that's something, you know, I look forward to at work and on my own time. But yeah, man, just giving back has been the most rewarding feeling, and it's something that I was missing in my past attempts to get clean, honestly. Because those times that I was clean in the past were kind of just like you would say dry drunk or someone without any happiness in their life. So yeah, man, that's definitely been a huge factor of what brings me joy.
That's awesome, man. And a great question, too, because I always tell you, I'm like, we want to touch our passion every day.
Yeah.
Whatever that is.
Yeah.
Great question. Great
Yes, sir.
response.
Yeah.
So we don't have a tremendous amount of time left, but I'm going to shift it over to Jason and just kind of keep going on the same tongue that we've been on. And, you know, treatment providers. I used to run a program in Prescott, Arizona that maybe I shouldn't have been out in front of. You know, I was very new in the field. I was only a few years. I was hungry. I treated people well. I cared a lot, but I wasn't in a good position to be in there. And so I think sometimes in those early recovery processes, specifically back in 2008 and 2009 for me, where I think I'm showing up, being accountable, or helping the group become accountable, I'm actually introducing some shame. And that is the last thing that I want to do today, and I think the last thing we should be trying to do as treatment providers. So, and it's a delicate dance sometimes, and so I just want to chat with you a little bit about what is the difference between accountability and shame, and how do you differentiate those?
Yeah,
two?
and I think if I were to say it in a sentence, I would say accountability is about behaviors and shame is about character of a person, right? If I'm confronting somebody about their behaviors, I'm holding them in high regard while I'm doing it. I'm holding them up and saying, you're valuable. You're valuable enough for me to say, hey, these behaviors are out of line. Shame is saying, wear a sign that says I'm an addict and go sit on a street corner. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that's
that's
shame.
crazy.
Yeah. you would do that. But like that is, I mean, there is a history of that in this field, and fortunately we are moving away from it. But I think people that have walked through addiction don't need to be told what a piece of garbage they are. They already are feeling that. They need to be told you have a lot of value, and we can build you up in this way. And then some of your behaviors probably need some correction along the way. Because it isn't like you just remove drugs and alcohol and everything else, like all my other behaviors fall right in line. I've stopped lying, I treat people right, I make my bed, I live on a schedule. Those things have to be taught. And they don't come naturally just with the removal of the substance. And like doing this longer term work and Cody did a great job describing it too, like working out and all that, finding joy just in kind of getting acquainted with yourself again. I think that's what matters. And so that's my short answer to your question.
Yes, I think that's a really great answer, because what we're doing is we're pulling out of the only resource that was around in 1935, which is Alcoholics Anonymous, and it's a great resource.
Absolutely.
But even so much so, when I got sober in 2008, I heard stories and things like, just sit down, shut up, listen, you'll talk when you get a year. And at the time, I was one of those people that was resilient to that type of treatment, but there's a tremendous amount of people that aren't. And you can't fight shame with shame. So I just think that's really, really valuable to grow up and out of that AA culture, especially if we're treatment providers. So you bring up a great point and explain that really, really well. And I just think we can all get better on a daily basis with respect to compassion, love, care, and decompressing shame, because most people are walking in, to your credit, like there is not a single person that's beating themselves up worse than the person walking in the door. And when they get to sit with somebody like Cody, who understands what it feels like to be in shame, I mean, we can dismiss that right away. And that's how in the last almost 7 years with people like yourself and Cody, how we've been able to develop, adopt, and carry out this idea that nobody cares what you know until they know that you care. And so it's because of special individuals like you guys. So thank you so much for coming on, Cody, man. It's been great having you on.
It's been a pleasure.
Love to have you on again here in the next 6 weeks or so. Jay, trusty Steed, baby. Love you all. So that's it for the Peaks Recovery Center's talk show, founded September 14, 2014, and still going strong. Nice. Let's go, my people. Find us wherever you find your podcasts, Instagram, Facebook. Let's go.
You probably are watching it right now on that. So
make it beautiful and blessed. Peace.